on our deathbed, you're not going to worry about how much money you had, how much power you had, how much prestige. You're going to see that that was all game, that that was all an illusion. The only thing that's going to matter is the impact you had on other people's lives.
We are all on a separate journey. But the beautiful thing about our life here on this earth is at my funeral, they ain't going to talk about my success. They're going to talk about who Nick was and how Nick lived and how Nick loved and encouraged.
Success is incredibly important, but even more important than success, it's having an impact. It's knowing you haven't walked the planet in vain. It's knowing that because you've been here, you've blessed lives, you've developed people, and you have made the world a better place.
The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Everything you gain in life will rot and fall apart, and all that will be left of you is what was in your heart.
Life is a mirror, and life gives us not what we want. Life gives us who we are. When you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice.
Good evening, everybody. I'm J Binsack. Thank you for joining me. Merry Christmas Eve, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to be on for about an hour, and I'm going to be sharing a couple of personal stories with you tonight, or maybe just one. We'll see. First off, I want to thank everybody for an incredible year with MFA. Christmas last year was basically the beginning of the corporation for MFA, and we have come super, super far. And it's thanks to the incredible people who made this possible, who took a vision that I had and brought it to life. And one thing I've learned in my life is that, as the video just showed, life is about making an impact. Our life is like a mirror. And at a time in my life when I was much younger, I got caught up in success, arrogant. And I can remember, after quitting school and being homeless and leaving a horrible childhood behind, that I had this incredible vision. Not that I wasn't going to be anything like I was told, but that I was going to be something. And the only thing I knew at the time, and was considered even as a kid, always told me I was a protege, was building. And when I built, I was in peace. I was building tree forts where I wasn't supposed to be building tree forts when I was younger. I got in trouble many times for building in abandoned lots or trees around our family's houses, or up in the dunes and the mountains above the beach in the Hamptons. I was building everywhere. I had to build. And being consumed by business and success and being young, you have to walk a path and learn. And one of the biggest things I've learned was that we create our destinies, not so much for success, but our true impact here on this planet and with others. And after January 14th, 1999, and having my truck go off a snow-covered mountain in the Delaware National Park and dying and being in a coma and waking up. It was just as if I was a walk-in. It was as if my soul had changed a different path. And at that time, my life was, I was going through a divorce. I had to get rid of my business on Long Island. It's a very successful business, not because it failed, but because I imploded. And I learned something thereafter that I had to walk through, if you want to call it, the shadow of the valley of death. And that's how I describe it in my book, as the shadow of the valley of death. Because once God gave me another chance, I had to look at my life and reevaluate my life and reevaluate how I got to where I was. And at that time, as many people know from old BS newspaper articles and things that really aren't correct, but I ended up being arrested and charged for something I didn't do. But I put myself in that position, you see. I didn't do this white-collar crimes with my company. I just claimed bankruptcy with my near-fatal auto accident and things like that. But in a corrupt town, it was meant to be that way. I had to walk this path and go through this suffering. And thereafter, a couple of years on the lam, meaning on the run, facing death, a very bad cocaine habit at that time. And I can remember sitting, in the mountains of Antigua or on the beaches of Antigua or on the island of Nevis, watching the sunset, and over those 2-year period of time and being on the lam, I found out who I was. And more so thereafter when I returned to the United States and returned to Pennsylvania. It was a great fear of mine at that time. Not because of the charges, but because I knew what Pennsylvania was going, how they were going to treat me. And at that time, you think you have faith in a justice system that would work, and it doesn't work. Not always. And it's very corrupt. And I can remember being in this county jail at Christmas. And everybody who said that they were my family or my friends or associates, you have all that money and everybody's on your coattails. You think that they would be there for you. And no one was there for me. Except for my grandparents, or my mom's mom and dad, who were like my real parents to me. And I can remember being locked down for Christmas. And really no food. Guards would spit in my food. I was treated like public enemy number 1 in Monroe County. I thereafter sued them for this. This is public information. And at Christmas time, when you don't have all the gifts, you really understand. And when you're locked down like that and abandoned, and I was sick as well, you appreciate and come to appreciate what life is really about and what the simple things are in life and what Christmas is really about. For Christians, and those spiritual will understand it's, about Jesus Christ. Our country, so to speak, and as well as around the world, has turned Christmas into this big retail company, so to speak, but massive corporation, so that all the companies underneath can profit from giving. I believe giving to others is the key in life and what I've learned and what mark we leave here when we're gone. And although I had to walk through the shadow of death and come to grips with many things in my own life and face being charged for something that I didn't do, but I will take responsibility of putting myself in that position to be charged. You really come to realize, and when you're on your knees praying on a concrete floor, very sick, locked down, have no one, you come to realize how important life is and how important, whether people acknowledge you for your kindness or not, or for being yourself or facing yourself in the mirror, it doesn't matter if anyone acknowledges you for that. Because I can assure you, God acknowledges you for that. And the people that you've aided and helped along the way appreciate that. And many may not say it, but they do. And I can remember, finally, after almost 2 years not having a trial, and that, I apologize, someone's calling my phone in the middle of this and I should have shut it off. We'll let it ring and then I will continue. Sorry about that, guys. I usually shut it off. So, realizing, down on my knees praying in this 4x6 concrete vault in the RHU, that we come into this world alone and we leave alone. And the mark that we leave here behind is what's important. And we are human. Everyone makes mistakes. Somewhere along the line we got caught up with judging others instead of looking at ourselves in the mirror. And our life is a reflection of us. And sometimes some of us are put into situations we don't like, not on, or purposely. But most of the time, we put ourselves there by the decisions we make in life. And Christmas, for the past 2 years now, I've been able to spend with my daughter, which is, you have no idea to me how important after not being with my daughter for 16 years, and not on purpose. It was during this time that when I was on the lam years ago, I met my daughter's mom, who was a handler for the FBI at the hotel they had me up here in New Jersey. When I was cooperating with them, that my daughter was conceived, and then Christine and my daughter, even though she wasn't born, came for this incredible ride where we traveled around the world. And I can remember the day I had to tell Christine she had to go home with my daughter. And I always saw my other children born, and it was Christmas, actually. It was like we had Christmas, and then it was after New Year's. But I can remember that Christmas as clear as it was today on the island of Nevis, in the villa I had there. Wake up every morning to beautiful palm trees and an ocean, and most of all, peace, Not all this madness, but peace. But during that time, which Christine can vouch for, and several others, including my security, there was a bad element that was around and actually wanted me dead. And it had nothing to do with mafia or the FBI or any of the above. It had to do with an element, so to speak, a rogue element tied to the gaming people who most people don't know. I created a sports book, one of the first ones for online gambling back in the day, and out of Antigua's Free Trade Zone. And I was actually opening a casino on the island of Antigua. And competition did not like that. And there's only one other casino on the island, but there was another one at that time. And competition, they actually put a hit on me to get rid of me. I have not really shared this story with anybody, but my point of this is that I got paid a visit, even though I had my security with me on the island of Nevis. And it was at Christmas time. And then thereafter, another one on New Year's. And it was right after New Year's of the millennium, in 2000, that I had told Christine we have to go. And she knew what was going on. And I told her to, pack everything up and that I would meet her at the airport because I had to go meet this particular gentleman. And I knew he wasn't going to be alone. And it was down on the beach in Nevis, right next to the Four Seasons Hotel. And I knew that night, taking that drive to there and sending Christine to the airport, I may never see her again. Or my child being born, or the above. People, when you are successful or smarter, or can handle more than others, get very jealous. And when it comes to very big projects like this that we were working on at the time, and the amount of money involved and things of that nature, people wanted me out of the picture. And I did nothing to these people. I really knew nothing of them, except that they were from the UK and tied to the Prime Minister of Antigua. And even my own main security people and their ties to the Prime Minister. We finally got to the truth of the matter, but it was not until a little while later. And I remember going to this meeting, and it was dark, and I had it all planned. Christine was waiting at the very tiny airport on the island of Nevis, and we were flying from there to Jamaica. And she was 8 months pregnant. Yeah, 8 months pregnant. Yeah, 8 months pregnant. And I went to this meeting, and I was armed, and I did not have security with me because I knew I could not, any sense of knowledge that I knew what they were up to. They did not know that I knew what this meeting really was about. And they were going to kill me. They were going to kill me and then put me on a boat, my body, and dump me into the Caribbean Sea. Because we had gotten our gaming license and we already had the sports book going on from Antigua, out of my condos over there. I was always doing business. Even when I was on the run, I was always doing business. I was always working. And when I look back on my life, I've spent a good majority of my life working. Mostly as younger when I had to survive, and I was driven. But in this case, this was something on the side I wanted to do. It was a good business. I actually sold that sports book and made good money from it. And we never opened the casino on the island after this event took place because even though I took care of the element with the Prime Minister of Antigua, and my neighbor was the Vice Prime Minister, Robin, was his name. He was my neighbor. And I met this gentleman, and then another gentleman came out of the cracks, so to speak, standing by a beach bar there on the side of the Four Seasons Hotel. And I can remember seeing the man in the shadows, and he was armed. I could see it. And I know this sounds like something out of a movie, but this is only a very small piece of my life. And I can remember, okay, this is real, Scott. You have to handle this. And I remember going to that meeting that I may have to kill one of these people. And I'm not just saying that. It was my life or theirs. And they were hired to take me out. and had nothing to do with, like I said, mafia or anything. It just happened. Here's one of these situations where you're doing business, everything's okay. The next minute, you know, having special police show up at your hotel. There's a beginning part of it. I mean, your hotel. At my condo, there's a beginning part of this story, but I'm giving you the end piece right now. And sorry, people are messaging on the board. I don't know why. So I'm there at this meeting, and he opens up his trunk, and he had told me this was a deal to help me, okay, and I knew that it was not. And sure enough, when he opened up his trunk, he pulled out a very large automatic weapon. And I can remember standing there and thinking again that Christine is at the airport. I need to do the right thing here. I mean, to save myself. And at that moment, I said to him, I said, yo, man, what's up with this? And I had already known. So I had already had my people in the back. It was this was a sand road that I had to go down to go to this place to where we met. And my plan was to meet with them, push them off, get back in the Jeep, and get to the airport and leave. And at that moment, he said to me, he goes, here's the deal. We won't kill you if you give us $100,000. And then he proceeds to tell me the story of how he got hired to kill me over this gambling establishment, a casino we were opening on the island of Antigua. And he told me who sent them. He told me everything. And I said to him when he was done, I said, okay, I already know that. And I said, okay. I said, and I'm going to be straight. I lied to him. I said, yeah, no problem. You want $100,000? Thank you for telling me the truth. I'll get you $100,000. The banks I can't get it right now. You got to give me a couple of days to do that. Toned this guy down. And I knew once I left, my legal security that I had with me and close friends was going to grab these guys and take them and have them locked up. And I can remember my senses then saying, Scott, you're going to be okay. You're going to be safe. And you're going to make it to the airport. And sure enough, I got him convinced, okay, I'll give you the $100,000, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I'm not giving you the beginning part of this. You'll get it in my book and my videography. But there's a point to what I'm trying to say. And I left. I can remember my heart racing like, and he never took my weapon, my 9mm off of me, which I had a legal international carry permit at that time. And I got to that small, tiny airport, and there's not a soul. It's like a little strip with a windsock. Go on Google Earth and look up Nevis Airport. Nevis is a very tiny island. Very exclusive island, no cameras, celebrities. Barbra Streisand has a villa there and things like that. And I got to that airport and I parked in the parking lot. And I can remember like my heart racing and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, Scott, At that point I was like, I don't even want to do business anymore. I don't want to do anything anymore. Jealousy, people have been jealous of me since I was younger. And you get to see how people really react. People you think are your friends, people you think are your family, people you think that you could do business with. And I was only 26 at that time. Yeah, it should be 26. No, 27 maybe. But and since then I've conquered fear through all of this stuff I've been through, because it gets worse. I spent a few other Christmases on my knees in prison for something the same thing I didn't do. Never went to trial for. And fought it thereafter. Nonviolent, never been, Martha Stewart's done worse than I have ever been. My point to this is that people take advantage of life. People take advantage of the people that are around them, the good people. People don't appreciate spending Christmas, whether you're with your family or even at your own home or in your own place by yourself, or with your daughter, like myself, and those people that I love, including all of you. And I went on this journey in my life to where I finally have become to where I am, and I still grow and learn every day. But we all have a purpose here. And until you lose everything that you have, including your life, and you get another chance, or you lose those great materialistic things that everybody thinks are so important, or till you really find out who your real friends are and who they're not, and then you find yourself all alone, okay, all alone, and you ask yourself, if I were to die today, what would I leave behind? How would my children look at me or think of me? How would others, and who did I help? Who didn't I keep my word to? What promises I broke? What promises I kept? We only get one shot at this, okay? Meaning, as human beings, our soul gets many shots. And they're painful shots. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be all fun and games. It's not all about us, meaning ourselves. It's about who we really are and what we can do to help others and educate others and be kind to others. And it doesn't matter who you believe in, as far as who God is or what your religion is. It's still the same basic principles of being kind, of being honest, of learning and facing ourselves in the mirror every day and to be better every day. And at Christmas time, I believe people should be very grateful if you have a roof over your head, if you're free. I mean, not just free from some prison, but you can be in your own prison every day. You don't need the bars and the razor wire to be in a prison. You could be with somebody you've been with for 30 years and not really love them and think that it's love and still be alone. You could have built that business empire and you're sitting there at the top in your big office, and I know I've been there, and be alone. You're not complete or whole until your soul and your heart is whole within yourself to find that peace. That's why Christmas, the word used to be peace and joy, as well as the religious part of Christmas and Hanukkah. Just being able to sit here and broadcast live on Christmas Eve to people I care about and to the world is a blessing in itself. And in 1 year, we've taken this organization and brought it to where it is. And it continues to grow and bring incredible people together. So for me, this Christmas is beyond anyone I've ever had before, because so many, hundreds and hundreds of great people, whether they message me or they've sent beautiful cards, emails. I wanted to thank Terry for this incredible book. He sent it to me for Christmas with a great note, and he's the author of it, and he's one of our members. Terry Lucy, and there's his name at the bottom. And he's offered to be one of our writers and do some writing on the side for MFA and do the written take on my video shows coming up when we hit the MFA News and TV network. And it's those little things in life. Like somebody will message me and they never messaged me before and say, "Hey Scott, I didn't know if, you know," and they'd say something to me or tell me a compliment or ask me a question and I answer them. Sometimes they'll be a little late. I try to answer all my messages personally. I try to. And they'll message back and go, "I can't believe you answered me, you know, I'm surprised, you know." At 48 years old, and on Christmas 2017, I have learned the greatest importance in life is that we are here to learn, to love, to teach, to be humbled, and make a difference. And that doesn't mean you're going to be able to make a difference with everybody you meet, or your people, you know, members of your family, or others. But it does mean you can make a difference to yourself. And if you don't love yourself, you won't be able to love anyone else. And you'll live miserably. And if you can't learn to forgive, you will die miserably. And as the video showed in the beginning, and I loved it when I watched it, and I wanted to share it with everybody, because it's true. And we've lost, as a whole on this planet, but especially in the United States and some other bigger countries, I believe we've lost that direction. People have lost the direction of what life's really about. And because of, whether it be propaganda, internet, how society has changed, and the hate has grown, and violence has grown, and the division has grown, the lies have grown, and now it's Christmas is like all about retail. And yeah, gifts are wonderful. Giving is wonderful. It's just like for New Year's. I did a show a few years ago, and it sort of was very big at the time on Sunday night with Scott Binsack, and it's like, it's time for that New Year, New Me bullshit. And you know, people go for New Year's, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, get my shit together, and I'm going to do better in my business, and I'm going to do better myself and spend more time with my family, whatever the resolutions are. Why do people have to wait to the first of the year to make a change in their lives? You shouldn't have to wait till New Year's Eve to make a change in your life. Every day when you get up, you have another New Year's Eve. So that New Year, New Me, I call it bullshit. Because if you really want to change, you change now. You change today. And every day we wake up alive is another new day to make a difference and to change. And I can foresee see how 2018 is going to bring a lot of great things for MFA, but a lot of bad things for our country and the planet. But the good news is that people can make a difference. People can change this destiny. Good people can make a difference. And people can learn and get back up and do it again and get it right. That's the great thing about the human mind and the heart, is that we can change. Some of us, like when I was younger, the stubborn ones, have to learn it the hard way. So that, fall down on your face, get up. Well, God wakes me up when I'm not paying attention. And that's a blessing. Because if God takes the time out to wake you up and save your life and to give you another chance and trust you with incredible blessings, then you need to listen. You need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. So for me, this Christmas is super important because of all of you and all those immediately close to me who have changed my life for the better. And I remember keeping the promise to my daughter. Some of you who followed me publicly at that time would know this story, but last 4th of July, and I had just reunited with my daughter after 16 years, about 2 months before that, I had promised to meet her in New York. So we were FaceTiming and, talking on the phone and things like that. And I did a live show from my place in Camarillo, California at the time. And when I was done with the show, I lifted my head up and my eye exploded. I used to go the wrong way. It's this eye. And my retina had torn right off, and I knew it because I had it happen to the other eye, and I'm blind in that eye. And I'm thinking, the only thing I could think of is I said at the time, I'm like, just get my retina rupture. I need to get to the hospital now or I'm going to go blind. But most importantly, I'm like, I have to fly tomorrow to meet my daughter. I promised her that I would be reunited with her after 16 years. And talking to my daughter after never talking to her before was like coming home. Her and I just immediately connected, and it was rough at first, believe me. But I made this promise. So I end up being rushed to UCLA, to Jules Stein Eye Clinic. The doctors had to come in late at night and operate on me. And it wasn't a simple operation. My eye actually had to be removed and cryogenically frozen in the back, carbuncle, all kinds of good stuff, and they did not know if I was going to see. So here I am, and the doctor's like, Scott, and it was the most painful thing that you ever want to have in your life, trust me. And the doctor's like, Scott, you can't fly. I'm like, what do you mean I can't fly? He goes, from the pressure and the altitude, you'll rupture the incisions and you'll rupture your eye. And so I'm like, I said, okay. I said to Dawn, get me away, we'll take a train. I said, I'm taking a train. And no matter what, I have to keep my promise to my daughter. And I got on that train, and it was 4 days of living hell. I can assure you, not being able to see, being on a 2-story car, having to be led everywhere. I was miserable. I was nasty. I was in pain. I was working still at the time, blind. I was having, my assistant on do things, telling her what to do while she was looking at a computer screen or an iPad while we were traveling. And then, I can assure you that's probably one of the scariest things on the planet is losing your vision. You can take my hearing, whatever, but don't take my sight. And I made it to New York, and I got reunited at Penn Station with my daughter. And I'll never forget her running up to me, and it was videoed. It's up, I believe, on my personal wall. And I remember how good it was to have her in my arms, but most of all that I kept my promise and that I didn't let her down. And she was afraid I wasn't going to show up. And when she heard about my eye, got super upset before that and it wasn't that she didn't care about me. She was just so disappointed. She said, Dad, what do you mean? You're not going to be able to come now? And I said, I'm coming. I will be there. I will be there. And I learned something that day. That we must keep our promises, especially to our children and to those we love. And do everything in our power to do that. Because a man, i.e. a woman or a man, is only as good as their word. And that's part of what's left behind when you're gone. And part of this is, it's like dealing with this hate on a regular basis, okay, from people. And being a public figure since I was younger and been out of magazines and things like that, I'm used to that kind of crap. But when you get to this level of hate that you see now between the left and the right, and what I and other people as truthers, or people who like to expose corruption, or who are very open about their lives, you have to be expected that, like, I'm going to make this video public because I have nothing to hide from the world. Nothing. And the hate, though, is so extreme today. You don't even know where it comes. Like, you have no idea where it's even coming from, or where these people, like, their why. What's their purpose, these people? Just to spread nastiness and hate and the division? We are at a crucial point in our world. I mean, I don't think people really understand how critical and what point we are at on this planet, and how close we really are to nuclear war, to acute, planetary changes and the death of millions and millions of people, which could happen at any time. Christmas and how you treat people should be every day, not just one time a year. New Year's should not be the one time a year you decide to make a change in your life, but every day should be. That we wake up and are not 6 feet under, because you have no idea when your time is up here. And I can assure you, from what I learned and what I know from life and even crossing over, you cannot cheat death. And when it's your time, it's your time. I didn't cheat death. I was given another chance for a specific purpose, and I had to walk through the shadow of death to get here. And it was not pleasant, but I wouldn't change it. And I still put up with the hate, some hate from that, and fake news and whatever. I'm very responsible for my actions, and I made many mistakes in my life. But I'm not a criminal. Not my style. I'm a worker. I achieve everything that I want. I don't have to steal. I don't have to rob. I don't have to cheat. I don't have to con. I just have to be me. And use the gifts that God gave me. And that's why, with MFA, it's been this is huge for me and for those involved in this. And to bring this amount of people, good people, together, and bring them together as a huge family. And my goal is by February 1st to have a total of 1,000 members. And I know we can reach that goal. And I know that we can have our Atlas City and our survival group and our private forum and our news network and our TV network. All we got to do is work together and make a difference. And we can make a difference. And we can set precedent of how people can help each other. And that people can get along. And that people can have different opinions, however, be on the same plane. And have the same purpose. Christmas is a time of peace and joy. And to be grateful to God. And New Year's is just really another day. Every day is New Year's, believe it or not. Man created time. Time does not exist. People need to remember this. And you have no idea when your time is going to be up. And most people go, that won't happen to me. That won't happen to me. I can remember saying for a long time, when my family, someone in my father's family died of a heart attack, or somebody I knew, I'm like, that's not going to happen to me. That's not going to happen to me. My heart's good. And yeah, thank God my heart was good, but I had 3 heart attacks from my Addisons. And then 3 heart ablations. And now my heart is fine. Thank God. But my heart was fine before that. The damage came from something else. But I kept saying, that's not going to happen. In my back of my mind, that's going to happen to me. It's all good. That's not going to happen to me. I got that. It's all good. I got it. No. And then when you keel over and the pain is so excruciating, you start to sweat and you start to vomit, and you know in your mind, oh shit, I'm having a heart attack. Again, your life flashes before you. And then I woke up in an ambulance. Tubes and, all that great stuff. And sure enough, I got to the hospital, and I thought they were going to say, same, some kind of bullshit. Sure enough, the troponin levels came back, everything came, boom, 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 bad news. There are no replays in life. There are no redos. You can't bring back the past. You can't change the past, but you can change today and tomorrow. And how you think inside, at your core, is who you really are and how your future is going to be. And if you have ugly intentions, you're going to get ugly results. If you have selfish intentions, you're going to get ugly results. And you can't take all that money with you. As the video showed, you can't take it with you. You need to use it for something good, as well as enjoyment for yourselves if you've worked hard for it, and for other things. I know. I've made millions and millions of dollars, and I've lost millions and millions of dollars in my past. And again, that's who made me who I am today, and how I can build this type of organization and not make the same mistakes again. And it's been a humbling life for me. And I'm grateful and thankful for being alive and for being allowed to be here to speak to all of you. And hopefully this video will touch someone else and help them. And that's how it works, like a chain reaction. So when you think that you're not doing anything or getting credit for something you've done to help someone, or having that sincere heart or soul, believe me, God's paying attention. And those you're helping are paying attention. And they'll never forget it. It's like finding a cat or an animal astray and they're malnourished. And you take them in, you find them, you take them into your home, you nurse them back to health, and you care. That animal will never forget that, and they will be loyal to you to the day that they die. Well, I can assure you God doesn't forget. And karma is a bitch. And that's the universe. And what you give out is what you'll get back. And believe me, I know that firsthand too. And I'm fortunate. And I've only shared, some very small, minute parts of my story. And they're small to me because my story is a unique one. We're all no different than anybody else, but our lives are different. The lessons we're given are different. And the challenges we're giving are different. It's realizing that we all have a purpose. It's realizing that this is not about who ends with the most money or the most success. Success is not about how many Ferraris you have in the garage. Success, personal success, is about who you are when you leave this earth? What have you given back? What have you given yourself? What lessons have you learned? Who have you helped? Who have you taught? Who have you really cared about? Have you even cared about yourself? You only get one shot of life. But every day, you get a new shot at that life. Not once a year, every day. And I know people say, well, I can't do something because of my health or for this or for that. I've been pretty sick in my life. And I deal with it all the time. And if you look at my picture from last year as to now, or my videos, you'll see the difference. Because I will never give up. I don't think that, okay, I'm going to die someday and look at it that I know I'm going to die. I'm not afraid of death. That's because I've seen it. But I'm not afraid of death. God, yes. Death, no. And that's my point. You have to answer to your own soul and thus God. So when you think you're getting away with something, or your intentions are bad, or you're hating, or you're jealous, just remember, okay? Just remember, what you're putting out will come back. And if it's not in this lifetime, you'll do it again. And it's not as pretty the next time. Humility is something I learned from God the hard way, as well as patience. And I still have no patience, but I've learned to be patient and to listen. And God's put a lot of good people in my way, or people I should to help, and I've helped a lot of people. I enjoy helping people. And yeah, I get aggravated a lot with people because you can see the writing on the wall so clearly, and you're trying to get that to other people. And a lot of people can't see what's right in front of their face because they don't want to see it. It's safer there. It's that safe place, Life's not about being safe. Life's about living. Life's about living. Christmas is about living and being thankful. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, whether you're alone or you have kids running all over the place, or you're just with your husband or your wife, just, look up and be like, take a deep breath and say, you know what? I'm alive. I'm here. And I'm blessed to be here, no matter where you are or no matter who you're with. People should take stock of their lives every day. Not 1 day or 2 days a year on a holiday. People should be giving, not gifts, every day, but be giving of themselves in kind. Passing it on. Passing it on. I want to share, it's a sort of a new, it's a little bit of everything about Christmas. What will happen the Christmas of this year, like now, of what some prophecy says and from what things are going on. Just know that And those of you, you're very special to me, and that I love you all, and that this is an incredible time in our lives with what we're going to be able to see and change, what's happening and what we can change, and you're going to be seeing all, in our planet. It is an incredible time. Yes, scary for many, and going to be very traumatic. And we're already there. People don't seem to understand we're already there. It's just people have gotten used to what's going on. They've gotten used to, fake CIA terror attacks. They've gotten used to, bombers and shooters. And I can remember years ago even sensing and seeing, I said to myself, you know what, we're going to be just like Israel in the Middle East someday in the United States, and we are now. Building walls, going through scanners, being controlled, being herded like sheep or like cattle going to the slaughter. Look over here and pay attention to us. You'll be safe. Go through these gates and you'll be okay. Sure. We are in a constitutional crisis in this country, as well as a global crisis of just, I don't even know what the word is anymore, or what the words are. I just know it's not going to be an easy ride going forward. Let me pull this video up quick.
A Jubilee year occurs every 50 years within a certain time frame on the biblical calendar. 7 years, 7 times to get to what is known as the year of Jubilee. And the year of Jubilee, biblically, is when all debts were canceled and all the land returned back to the original owner.
I live in a Jewish community in the Galilee, and I was given a manuscript concerning the prophecy of a 13th century Jewish sage, a rabbi, Judah the Righteous. He said that for 400 years, 8 Jubilees, the Ottoman Turks would rule Jerusalem. Then it would be no man's land for 1 Jubilee. And then the next Jubilee, it would be in the hands of the Jewish nation. And then the next Jubilee would be the beginning of the end-time Messianic age. In 1217, Judah the Righteous spoke these words. 300 years, 6 Jubilee periods later, in 1517, the Ottoman Turks took Jerusalem. They held it for 400 years, exactly 8 Jubilees to 1917. That is when General Allenby took Jerusalem. It immediately, under the guidance and the directive of the League of Nations, the predecessor to the United Nations, was labeled no man's land. Exactly the words of Judah the Righteous hundreds and hundreds of years earlier. And for 1 Jubilee was no man's land, and then the Jewish nation, which had not been for nearly 2,000 years, took Jerusalem and has now held it in 2017. According to Judah the Righteous, begins the end-time Messianic age.
This is the 50th year or Jubilee anniversary for Jerusalem, but also we have the 70th anniversary of Israel becoming a nation. These are right on top of each other. Could something happen prophetically this year?
There's nothing wrong with us looking at these things and saying, here are these patterns. This looks like this pattern is now all stacking up. 1917, General Allenby takes Jerusalem. 1967, 50 years later, 1 Jubilee. The nation of Israel, which didn't exist in 1917, took Jerusalem. 2017 being the next Jubilee. Well, that Jubilee also happens to be 70 years from when Israel became a nation in one day, fulfilling the 2,600-year-old prophecy of Isaiah. When we see all these patterns in place, we have to say that this may be the hand of the Almighty. It could be coincidence, but I think we'd be foolish to just brush it all aside as just coincidence. We need to open our eyes and see if the Almighty is not telling us something.
What's a sign? You know, they take many forms, but certainly signs in the sky have always been signs from the Father. And there are some amazing things going on in the sky.
It's not surprising that people would pay attention to the sky. It is, in fact, half of the environment. One of the things that people notice, besides the incredible grandeur and beauty of something like the night sky, or the majesty and the predictability of the phases of the moon and the sunrises and the sunsets, is the fact that the sky is a convenient source of order. We have seasons on the planet that are just a product of the Earth moving in its orbit around the sun. But here on the Earth, in antiquity, people saw the sun seeming to move through the sky. They saw the moon move fast through the sky and change phases over the course of a month. They saw the stars come and go in different seasons. And those were all keys to survival, because those seasonal changes signaled the need
key to
for
survival.
Change for food, shelter, clothing, resources. And so just about everybody depended on the sky one way or another.
The tradition of using the stars and the constellations and so forth in the ancient Hebrew culture started in Genesis chapter 1. And it says that God himself placed stars and signs in the heavens and the atmosphere. The Jewish people later formed their calendar on astronomical observations and the sighting of the new moon every month from Jerusalem. But, very interestingly, the Old Testament, the Hebrew Old Testament, calls a series of feasts in the book of Leviticus a moed, M-O-E-D, and these are appointed times that God deals with people on the earth, or the Jewish people themselves.
In Leviticus 23, the Father tells Moses to tell the Israelites that he's got a calendar and he's got appointments on it. And he sums them up. There are 7 appointments. There's Passover, there's unleavened bread, there's first fruits, there's Pentecost, there's the Feast of Trumpets, there's the Feast of Atonement, and there's the Feast of Tabernacles.
All of Israel's feast days have to do with the phases of the moon. Some of the feasts will be started on the new moon. So the moon is extremely important in the feast days. As a matter of fact, Passover has to have a full moon.
The feast days are highly related to apocalyptic events, to the book of Revelation. We cannot understand the book of Revelation or the apocalypse without understanding the feast days.
The book of the Revelation is the Messiah fulfilling the fall feast of the Lord. All those things that we were to rehearse that the scriptures speak of, from Yom Teruah, the day of trumpets, day of shouting, through Yom Kippur, and the Feast of Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, it is all there, embedded in there, and it's all in the book of the Revelation. The Creator runs the universe according to his time clock. Whether we recognize it, live by it, understand it or not, makes no difference to him.
Body goes in the shadow of another, or one body blocks out all or part of another. So an eclipse of the sun is when the moon goes between us and the sun. An eclipse of the moon is when the moon goes into the shadow of the earth. And these things happen 5 or 6 times a year. They're very ordinary.
God said he created the sun and the moon for signs. What greater sign could that have meant but solar and lunar eclipses? While eclipses are natural phenomena, what gives them prophetic significance is when they happen on the biblical calendar and when we look scientifically at the patterns of when they have occurred historically. And back in 2014 and 2015, I originally discovered that there were these 4 total lunar eclipses falling on the biblical holy days, 2 years in a row, back to back. So I did research to find out when was the last time this happened. And I noticed the last time it happened was 1967 when Israel recaptured Jerusalem. Hello, these are very prophetically significant. And then the time before that was right after they became a nation in 1948. And then the time before that was 1492 when all the Jews were kicked out of Spain because of the Spanish Inquisition. So all I did was connect the dots between NASA, when eclipses occur, with the biblical calendar, and then it comes to, okay, what is the prophetic meaning?
The blood red moon is not uncommon in itself, but they are uncommon when they fall on feast days exactly, especially in tetrads, having 4 of them within a span of a year or 2. I think the celestial events are kind of like parables. Jesus taught parables and he hid truths in those parables. I think that's the exact same thing with celestial events.
Just as if you're driving down the road and you see a sign that says the bridge is out, it better not be where the bridge is out. It better be a mile ahead to give you warning. So for me, these signs in the heavens were warning us about what is coming over the next several years.
The total eclipse is going to be amazing. It's going to be the first time in decades that we've had a total eclipse that's visible over most of the continental United States. Total eclipses happen fairly regularly on the Earth. I mean, every other year, approximately, there's going to be a total eclipse somewhere on the Earth. But, you know, most of the Earth is water. A lot of the Earth is not very well populated. This is the first event in most people's lifetimes where it's visible to millions of people. Almost anyone in the United States could drive and within a day be on the path of totality. So this is a big deal.
Every culture for thousands of years have looked at eclipses as a warning from God or from the heavens. Well, what you have to do is look at the pattern.
In 763 BC, Jonah was sent to Nineveh. Jonah was an Old Testament prophet who was commissioned by God to go to Nineveh. Nineveh is today currently Mosul. It was a very ungodly area. It was pagan. And he was told to go and bring him to repentance. Jonah balked at that and didn't want to go and rebelled and went the opposite way. After he is swallowed by what the Bible says is a great fish, he is vomited back up on the beach, and he now goes to Nineveh. And then when he finally goes there, the entire city repents, the Bible says, in sackcloth and ashes, including the king.
There was a big plague that affected the entire city of Nineveh. As a matter of fact, the king couldn't even go out to war in the spring, as kings normally do. This was followed by a civil war, which was followed by another plague. And then, in that summer, you have this total solar eclipse that goes over Nineveh. So all the Ninevites, they are scared to death, having had a plague, a civil war, another plague, and now this total solar eclipse.
Nineveh is recorded to have had the Ber-Segel eclipse of 763 BC. The thing that may have made Nineveh repent could have been that total solar eclipse.
Jonah arrives on the biblical calendar the first day of Elul. Now that is going to be around September 1st. And in the Bible, that month is known as the month of repentance. Now what many people don't realize, this warning was a 40-day warning. Well, that leads you to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which is also the Day of Judgment when God judges the nations. And so here we have on August 21st of 2017 a total solar eclipse that just so happens to occur on the 1st of Elul, the very beginning of the month of repentance that is leading up to the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur. This has to be more than coincidence. The sun, as far as a total solar eclipse, refers to judgment coming upon the nations. When was the last time we had a total solar eclipse that completely crossed the United States? Did you know it was at the end of World War I? And here we have America involved in World War I. Many people don't realize World War I also began with a total solar eclipse that went all through Eastern Europe, through Turkey, and even went all the way through Nineveh. And what do we see happen?
People also need to remember that World War I was started by a false flag. So pay very close attention. World War I was started by a very, very false flag. And like I said, there are no coincidences in life.
The Ottoman Empire is destroyed, and the solar eclipse went right through the Ottoman Empire. So we see a pattern of judgment.
Interestingly enough, Jesus said that a generation towards the end, asking about the end of time, Jesus said they will be given the sign of Jonah. Maybe it's talking about an eclipse. And if that's the case, then America needs to take warning.
We have an eclipse that happens August 21st, okay? That eclipse happens August 21st, 120 days to the 7th day of Hanukkah is 120 days. So now I start looking at the 120th Jubilee, 120th day after the eclipse, 120 years Moses changed ministries, 120 years before the flood began, and it seems that 120 is the time of turning things. So this is why I got excited about that, because if he didn't say 120, that made me think, okay, I know that this is the time of change. Is 120. Before the throne were 7 lamps. Why 7 lamps?
And if you remember what I was saying with my opening, that great change comes to us through God. God will open your eyes. God will have and permit serious things to happen to you in your life to wake you up. Just like God wakes up the planet and those. Noah's flood. Just an example. Why does it take God to open everybody's eyes to change? People and humans, mankind, should change on their own. No one is stopping us from changing. No one is stopping us from helping ourselves. No one is stopping you from looking in the mirror and making a change in your life and yourself and thus for others. No one is stopping. The only stop sign that humankind gets is usually in their own mind, out of fear. And thus why New World Order uses fear to control. God will keep giving you warnings. God will keep waking you up and saying, pay attention. And those who do not pay attention, well, then you get the real wake-up call, and that's when something very, very dramatic happens in your life, and or your life ends. And it's too late then. And if you look at history on this planet, and these are factual events that people are talking here, it's time to change. It's time to live. It's time to survive. It's time. It's time. to become right with God and thus yourself, and to make a difference in this, even as tiny as it is from everybody, all of us, it's actually very big. Every person doing something positive and kind, it ripples like a stone being thrown into a lake or a pond, and it just ripples out. Every action has a reaction. And when you do good, you'll get a dark reaction as well. And the more you spread the truth, and the more you stand up for yourselves, and the more we stand up, the more we'll be hated. There is darkness on this planet. There is, if you want, evil on this planet. There are dark souls and light souls.
Where does these lamps come from? How did the lamps even become a part of the whole story of this thing that's going on? Because if you don't know the story of Hanukkah, you don't know the importance of 8 days of Hanukkah. You don't know the importance of lighting the menorah lamp on Hanukkah and only having enough oil to last for 1 day. And when you light it, that lamp stays lit for 8 days. That's Hanukkah. That's why Hanukkah is an 8-day celebration. You understand? So the festival that is being celebrated here when he gets to heaven is Hanukkah, okay? So the 7 lamps are blazing. And it's the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, okay? Because there's a rapture scenario for Hanukkah. You understand? And people have to understand that. That's why you can't get excited about Rosh Hashanah. You can say it's a possibility, but it might not be the day. You can get excited about a tabernacle rapture. It's a possibility, but it's not today. You know what I mean? So it is giving you this scenario. So now it's giving you a complete scenario. But the thing that scares me is that it's 120 days from something that didn't have to happen unless God did it. And what's that? The eclipse. It's 120 days from the eclipse is the 7th day of Hanukkah this year. So be afraid, be very afraid if you don't know Jesus. Be happy, be
People
very
need to
happy.
stop making excuses.
When the 7th day of Hanukkah comes,
Listen to what I'm telling you. Stop making excuses for your life and behaviors and non-behaviors.
To any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any other virgin. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vesti. And the king gave a great banquet.
Exactly, Bill. Do not be a victim. Do not be a victim. Be a victor. And that's one thing I cannot stand, that people will use what's happened to them as an excuse for their behaviors. I have never once blamed any of my behaviors on my horrible, horrible childhood and things that have happened to me. Not at all. And I will never play victim. Even knowing what happened to me back in late 1998 and 99. Yes, I was a victim of corruption. But one more time, that's not the excuse. I put myself into that situation to allow what happened to me. And you'll be getting that story soon. And when you understand it and hear it, you'll say, whoa, and you'll get it. My point, though, never play a victim. Never. And lots of people like to blame their behaviors on others instead of themselves. And unless someone puts a gun to your head and forces you to do something, you and I are responsible for our actions. You want to be stuck your whole life? You want to be in a different place next Christmas than you are this Christmas? Then look in the mirror and be that change.
Esther's banquet for all the nobles and officials. He proclaimed a holiday throughout the province and distributed gifts and with royal liberality. So this all happened on the 7th day of Hanukkah, which is also the first day of Tebet, which is the same day. and it's all formed perfectly in 2017. That's what scares me, okay? That's why I said I have to give you the possibility, because if I don't, and you still sleep, then I didn't do what God told me to by ringing a bell in my ear late at night. Wake up. Because once it happens and you're here, now you have to die for your salvation. You're not depending on the fact that Jesus Christ died for your salvation. Now in the tribulation, now you have to die to make it to heaven. And Jesus already did that for you. So there's two ways to leave. Let's all take the first train out. Praise God. Amen.
I think one of the things that's happening with the Great American Eclipse is that there's something following it.
On September 23rd of 2017, there is an alignment that is happening in the sun, the moon, and the stars, which looks like something that John wrote about in chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. In the first two verses, he's talking about the sun, the moon, the stars, the wandering stars, which we call planets, and a constellation, which is Virgo. John says that he sees a great sign in heaven, that there is a woman, she is clothed in the sun, with the moon under her feet, and she has a crown of 12 stars on her head. But she's also pregnant, but not just pregnant, she's in labor and about to give birth.
We know that Virgo would be the woman. The moon will actually be at her feet. The sun will traverse right by her shoulder, clothing her in the sun. And in her head will be 12 stars. 9 of those will be the constellation of Leo. It makes up Leo. They're always there. But the 3 other ones that are not there are the syzygy, the alignment of planets. Mercury will align. We'll have Venus that's there, and also Mars, making up the 12 stars.
And we can see that the 12 constellations around the ecliptic only has one woman in it that the sun, the moon, and the wandering stars can travel through. And that would be Virgo.
A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant. Now, how can a sign in heaven be pregnant? There's another planet that has right now been in what we would call the womb of Virgo for several months, and it will exit that womb due to what's called retrograde motion, which is going back and forth, on September 23rd.
What happened in November of 2016, the planet Jupiter moves into the birthing canal in the constellation of this woman, and it stays there for a period of close to 42 weeks, which is a human gestation period. And it doesn't exit until the sign is finished on September 23rd, 2017.
If Virgo is pregnant with Jupiter, and it's 9 months to deliver, exactly 9 months, then the question is, what happened exactly 9 months before September 23rd? So the UN Resolution 2334 passed in December of 2016.
Pay attention.
Censuring Israel for having any type of developments, any type of settlements in the 1967 borders. And that has caused a major firestorm. Those settlements are in those areas that are contested by the Palestinians. That censuring has really given the world a stance against Israel. The UN seems to have resolution after resolution against Israel, the tiny nation that's only the size of Connecticut. And I think you're seeing an anti-Semitism. One of the things that I've noticed is that every time you see anti-Semitism grow in the world, whether it's 1917, whether it's 1939, you usually see a world war. When we see this occurrence of Jupiter going into the womb of Virgo, that does happen every 11 years. It's not rare. We know the moon's at her feet once a year, so that's not rare. What we do see is very rare are these 3 planets lining up in Leo. As they come in, again, this makes this occurrence once every 7,000 years. That
Pay attention.
is extremely rare.
I actually took the time, I went back 6,000 years, and I took screenshots of every single time that the woman was clothed in the sun with the moon at her feet. Because again, that happens every year. But do you have her giving birth? And do you have 12 stars at her head? There's never been a day that the exact same thing that happens in 2017 has ever happened. I also went 1,000 years into the future. It's just not there. This is the year that it seems that John saw.
right down the line, every single thing that's going to happen on September 23rd, factually, is mentioned in a book that's 2,000 years old.
Pay attention.
In Revelation chapter 12, it also talks about a great red dragon. It talks about that dragon ready to consume that child once it's delivered. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head 7 diadems. His tail swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was cut up to God and to his throne.
AKA Nemesis, AKA Planet 9 system. I believe the 7 crowns are the 7 planets that come with Nemesis, our binary sun twin. Okay.
If we look at 2017 as year 0, and we look at Israel...
If we look at 2017 as year 0, in other words, a reset. But not the kind of reset we want. Okay? But as a 0.
What's been happening to Israel years ago to come back into her land, it seems to have started 120 years ago. A man named Theodor Herzl held a congress in Basel, Switzerland in 1897, in which at the end of the conference he wrote in his notes that he founded the Jewish state. If Theodor Herzl founded the Jewish state in 1897, the next step that took place was the Balfour Declaration. This happened in 1917. And then the next thing that happened was that the UN General Assembly decided to vote, and they voted to create the State of Israel. That was in 1947. Then the Jews started coming back in their land. There was a war in 1948, which is called the War of Independence. They got their land, and they declared themselves a state. In 1967, there was another war, of which the Jews took back their capital, which they didn't have in 1947.
Their what? Capital.
But you've got everything landing on a 7. 1897, 1917, 1947, 1967, and a Jubilee, which is a special 50-year period to the Jews. From 1967 lands us in 2017, of which there are 2 epic signs in the heavens, which are declaring possibly the return of the Messiah. 120 years, 100 years, 70 years, 50 years. And year 0 then could only be, counting this way, 2017 would be the beginning of the apocalypse.
Boom.
If nothing took place, I just don't see that happening. I can't see that happening. I believe it's mathematically impossible. I don't believe in coincidence.
Nope.
The beginning of the end is 2017.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Today is December the 16th. This will be really short, but I have a partial dream to share with you, and then a really exciting flash dream that I think might be Christmas related, but let's find out. This first dream, I saw a major earthquake go off. I mean, the earthquakes were so large, everybody, that the land was starting to be filled and covered by water. So you could just guess of the tsunamis coming and washing over. So that's what I saw. Earthquake followed by water. So all the land was flooding, and we were just trying to survive it. And then a whole new scene pops in. I'm in the back of a building, and in front of this building, it's like a little river, I think. And then there's also, I think it's a Russian concentration camp. And I see one of the American soldiers tied up in a chair with a rope. So I somehow jump over this building, and I go to free this soldier. And as I go to free him, I realize I'm not me. I'm really in the body of another soldier. So he's getting fired at. There's got machine guns going off. He's getting fired at. So he's like trying to hurry up. So he tries to cut the rope, and he can't cut it. So he makes a decision to help his friend not have to suffer, I guess. But to me, it looked like he made it suffer.
And that's why I fully believe, along with adding science into all of this and facts, that 2025 is really the year that acute change to the planet is like finished. In other words, 2023 to 2025 is the shift. Even though we're in the shift now, I mean the main shift. And it's going to be devastating, but can be survived. And in the interim between now and 2025, 2023, 2025, you're going to see these changes continue rapidly on this planet. And it's almost as if this nemesis system, and I believe you're going to find in this, we're going to learn in this system that we are not alone. And I believe that system is now cupped around our sun, and that's what it called stuff, meaning in magnetic lock with our sun. And that's why I believe so many people have got the timing wrong of what Nemesis and Nibiru system will bring. And once it's out of this Helion lock, and nobody knows when that will be, when that will happen. But when it comes out of the lock, that's when things will get very, very bad.
Even more. So he took that screwdriver and he just stuck him with it, and he kind of missed his heart. So he said sorry, and the guy was like, well, oh goodness, can you kill me, at least kill me right? And so he takes that screwdriver and he shoves it into his heart, brothers and sisters, slowly, and you hear the gargling and all that, and then he keeps getting fired on, and he takes off. He just takes off. So this is pretty much just a battle scene, concentration camps, earthquakes, water. But this brings me to the next flashing my head, which was amazing. And I'm praying that, I keep seeing winter type stuff, and I've seen presents and Christmas trees and snow, and so imagine this, brothers and sisters. Imagine the burning bush, the same burning bush that Moses had on, up in the mountain, when he talked to God. I saw a small Christmas tree, and you just pictured it as a burning bush Christmas tree. Pretty much what it was, except for it wasn't fire that burned. It was electricity. Imagine a burning bush Christmas tree that didn't run on fire, but ran on millions of lightning bolts stuck in the tree. So I'm looking at this burning bush Christmas tree, and I see white lightning on just firing all over the place, like millions of lightning bolts that were going off. And it was, quite a thing to see, brothers and sisters. It was as if it was the burning bush, but it was a Christmas tree. So what does this mean? Again, I never set a date, but I find it very curious that it was a Christmas tree, and it was a burning bush Christmas tree. So will we see God on Christmas? Will we see God before or after Christmas? I will never set a date, brothers and sisters, but I've been getting an awful lot of signs from these things. Like today, I opened my mailbox and I had 2 big old brochures. It was all about diamonds, and it was all Christmas, written all over it. Christmas and diamonds, all over it. I've had so many dreams of snow on the ground and getting into a rapture plane or a rapture boat. One time I heard somebody say that after Christmas, the beast system would start going good, or something like that. So, and we know the beast system is going to start after we leave here. So, my brothers and sisters, we don't have much longer to be here. We really don't. We really don't. So we need to keep praying, keep repenting, keep pushing forward. Turn away from your sin, be baptized. No excuses, brothers and sisters. You can't serve God and mammon. You can only serve God. I love all of you so much, and I'm sorry this is a short video, but I'll leave a little clip for you guys to listen to. But I truly, truly love you. I love you.
God bless. So, It's time for people to change. It's time for people to wake up. It's time for people to what? Pay attention. And no more excuses. No more excuses. There are no more excuses. Because when you die, God's going to say, what's your excuse? No, God's not going to say, what's your excuse? And once you die, after that first minute of psychological things that you see in your own mind, you're like, whoa, it was that simple? It was that simple. Life is difficult because we make it that way, or we think it that way, or God had to send a wake-up call to make it that way. And if God didn't send you the wake-up call, which like I was blessed with, well, I don't know. But I feel blessed to be sent many wake-up calls from God and that I paid attention. And as I said, I wasn't one that wanted to pay attention. When you're young and you're, traumatized and whatever it may be, or you're on your missions and you're egotistical and, I'm an old soul. So when I was younger and I grew up fast, I was, much older. I was 15 going on 40. I'm just very, very troubled about how bad the anger and hate and division is getting and how much propaganda is misleading people. And people believe this stuff and they make life decisions based on these false beliefs and this propaganda and these outrageous news stories and the like. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. And we're in dangerous times. But we're also in times of awakening and change, which is good. So it's not all bad. It's whether you, yes, as Carolyn says, he loves us enough to wake us up. And, if you're not being woken up, or you keep blaming everything on everyone else, or you hate God because you think God is in charge of your life, no. We are in charge of our lives. And as children, we suffer, some of us. And that's just the path our soul chose to take for many reasons you won't know until you die. And I used to, as a child, kept asking God all the time, I can remember freezing. It was the middle of January, it's freezing, and I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And maybe I was a little bit older, but one of my abusers in my father's family got to the point that night where I had run out of the house with no clothes on, basically, and hid in my grandmother's station wagon in the back seat for my life. Because the abuser in question, my uncle, who's now deceased, was so far gone and such a pedophile and such a horrible, a troubled soul that I had to come to forgive. And I did truly forgive him and others that have harmed me a long time ago. And that freed me. Harboring anger is not a good thing. And Christmas time is a good time to learn how to forgive. Okay? It's a good time to look and say, you know what? Who am I angry at? That doesn't mean you forget. But you need to forgive for your own sanity and your own future and for your own purpose here. You do not want to die with that baggage, because that's not learning. That's not being humbled. That's being spoiled, to be honest. Forgiveness is very key, not to them, but for you. You must set yourselves free. So this Christmas and this New Year's, don't take it as like you're running late to go get a gift, okay, or that it's about what you gave someone. You need to give yourselves a gift and thus those around you by taking stock of yourself and forgiving those who have hurt you, as hard as that may be, to make it better for yourself and those that you love around you and who love you. Because everything is a ripple effect. Every action has a reaction. And that's why I tell people, you know, and one thing I learned is judging, okay? You may see me get angry and call somebody an asshole or whatever, or stupid, whatever. I'm basing that on facts, okay? I'm not trying to judge somebody. I'm saying, listen, you got to be, you know, or you're an asshole. Because until you walk in someone else's shoes, and all of our shoes are different, all of our paths are different, and sometimes those paths cross. And when God really cares, he brings people together like this. And this is just the beginning for us at MFA and as this great family, as I want to call it, I like to call it. And I get messages, so many, Scott, I met so many great people. I'm really good friends with people now from MFA, and you know, the great things have happened with people meeting other people, and that's how it works. That's how you spread, you know, how you spread that wisdom and that goodness. Our shoes are all different. And I can assure you, a lot of times what you see or you think you're seeing or reading, you need to check the sources, and you need to understand that not everything is what it seems or what may be spread on Google or anywhere else without having all the facts and things of that nature, or understand the why. Okay, once you understand your why, you understand your purpose. It's getting to the why. It's getting to the why. So, again, I just want to say thank you to everybody and wish you all an incredible Merry Christmas. And thank you for coming into my life and making my Christmas very special, because it is. And just watching myself on this screen and the comments and things in our group here, I can see the difference already from last Christmas to this Christmas of how far I've grown. And many of you have helped me grow, as I hope I have helped you in some way. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Tomorrow is my first real day off. Okay? Like day off. And I am taking the day off. I say that, and then I'll find some time to work on something. And I want to thank all of those who have, our officers who have trusted me to come on and be part of MFA, our board members, our members, those who have contributed through this year to get us here, and who have just recently contributed. And I will be personally, and I probably may do that tomorrow, I will be sending out personal thank yous from MFA, from myself, handwritten, to all of you who have donated to give to MFA.com to help us continue to grow. Because I know, as it says, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care about money, so to speak. As long as there's money to keep this organization running and growing and to support my family, I don't, even when I shop, I'm a guy who waits till things are 50, 60% off. If I go buy Ralph Lauren, which I like a lot, I wait. I wait for something. I'll get 50% coupons plus 30 at the store and 70. And it's something I learned from very, very wealthy Jewish businessmen, actually, very successful businessmen, and very close to me. I never looked at color, creed, or religion in my life. I was fortunate that way. I've never seen color or religion or race. I just see people. And that's something I've done since I was a kid. So I was born with that, but and we are headed into some serious times. Just know that together we can make a difference. And for those who are still caught up in the two-party system and battling each other on who's right about Hillary or Trump or this or that, focus on being an American, not a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. Focus on being an American and not being divided and not arguing about politics, because that's what they want you to do. That's what the world order wants you to do. They don't want you to pay attention to your future, yourself, your family, helping others. They want you to be caught up in their rat race, their deception. So please, pay attention with an open mind, an open heart. And that doesn't mean taking shit from anybody either, okay? There's a difference. Again, thank you all, and God bless. Give me 1 second here. I want to just take care of something. All right, guys. Good night. God bless. And be on the side of the truth. Not the left or the right. Be on the side of the truth. That's what America and the world needs, is truth. For once. Truth. Because many will take advantage of that for many types of reasons. Control, money. Good night, and God bless.